1965. Rome Airport. A tall, lean American grabs his suitcase and walks toward the exit. Nobody recognizes him. Nobody asks for a photo. Nobody runs up for an autograph. The man goes to his hotel. Tomorrow he'll show up on a film set for $15,000. 3 months of work. Nobody in Hollywood would offer this man a film role. He'd been playing the same part on television for 6 years. Studios didn't take him seriously. Television actor, they called him, like it was an insult. That man was Clint Eastwood. And that $15,000 Italian movie would turn him into one of the biggest stars in the world. But nobody knew this. Not even Eastwood. All he knew was this: Hollywood didn't want him, and this might be his last chance. This story isn't about a man's transition from television to cinema. This story is about what you do when everyone rejects you, and about how sometimes the craziest offer turns out to be the right one. Let's go back to 1954. Clint Eastwood is 24 years old, handsome, 6'4", athletic build. But in Hollywood, he's nothing. He has a small contract with Universal Studios, $75 a week. He plays tiny roles. He has 2 lines in a science fiction movie where a monster attacks. In another film, he walks in the background. Nobody notices him. In 1955, Universal didn't renew his contract. Eastwood was shown the door. A studio executive told him something he'd remember for years. "You're too tall. Your Adam's apple sticks out too much. You talk too slow. You'll never make it." Eastwood walked out. He was unemployed, broke, his dreams shattered. But he didn't give up. The next 3 years, he just tried to survive. He dug swimming pools, he worked construction. Occasionally, he got small television roles, one-episode gigs. Sometimes his name didn't even appear in the credits. And then in 1958, an offer came. CBS Television was making a new Western series called Rawhide. It a show about cowboys driving cattle from one place to another. The main character would be an older cowboy, the trail boss. But there was a second character too. Young, handsome, quiet, Rowdy Yates. Eastwood auditioned. He got the part. $750 a week. Steady work, steady paycheck, television stardom. Eastwood should have been happy, right? He wasn't. Because in 1958, Hollywood, there was an unwritten rule. Television actors don't become movie stars. Simple as that. Television was the small screen. Cinema was the big screen. There was no crossing over. Eastwood knew this. He knew that saying yes to Rawhide was risking his career. But he had no other choice. It was television or nothing. Rawhide premiered in 1959, and it was a hit. Millions watched. Eastwood's face entered every home in America. Rowdy Yates became famous, but Clint Eastwood still wasn't a movie star. For 6 seasons, he played the same role. 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. Same costume, same horse, same cowboy. Years passed, and Eastwood was suffocating. Every year during hiatus, he went to Hollywood. He went door to door, looking for film roles. He met with studios. He met with producers. The answer was always the same. "You're a television actor. Audiences know you as Rowdy Yates. They won't want to see you in movies." One producer was even more brutal. "Television has tainted you. It's too late for film." Eastwood went home. He shot the next season of Rawhide, and he waited for an opportunity, for a chance, for a miracle. In 1963, the miracle came, but from a place he never expected. One day his agent called. There was a strange offer. From Italy, a director named Sergio Leone wanted Eastwood. He was making a new Western, low budget. It would be shot in Spain. The pay was $15,000 for 3 months. Eastwood's first reaction was doubt. An Italian Western? Was that even a thing? Did Italians make Westerns? His agent gave him more information. The film was a remake of a Japanese movie called Yojimbo, Akira Kurosawa's film. A samurai story adapted into a Western. Eastwood had seen Yojimbo. He liked it. The idea was interesting, but he still hesitated. Go to Italy and make a cheap Western? What would that do to his career? He already had the television actor stigma. Was he going to become a B-movie actor too? And then something happened that changed his decision. His co-star on Rawhide, Eric Fleming, had also been offered the role. Fleming was the real star of the show. He played Gil Favor. He was more famous than Eastwood, more experienced. Fleming rejected the offer. "I'm not going to Italy to make that ridiculous movie," he said. "It would hurt my career." When Eastwood heard this, he felt something. He didn't know exactly what. Maybe jealousy, maybe anger, maybe just stubbornness. Fleming had said no. Everyone would say no. Saying no was the logical thing. Eastwood said yes for $15,000. 3 months of work, with a director whose name he couldn't even pronounce. He flew to Rome. He met Sergio Leone, and his life changed. When Leone first saw Eastwood, he noticed something. This man's face was different. It was quiet, mysterious. He didn't talk much, but his gaze told pages of dialogue. Leone told him something, something that would shape Eastwood's entire career. "American cowboys talk too much. Your character won't talk. He'll just look, and we'll tell the story with that look." Eastwood didn't understand at first. In television, every scene was filled with dialogue. Characters talk constantly. That's how he learned. Leone thought differently. Say less, show more. Use silence as a weapon. Eastwood tried it, and it worked. Filming began in Spain, in the Almeria Desert. Hot, dusty, tough conditions. Eastwood's costume would become legendary. Brown poncho, cigar in his mouth, hat with curved edges, 3-day stubble. Leone created this look, but Eastwood added something. The cigars. There were no cigars in the script. Eastwood had brought a box of cigars. Leone saw them and loved it. The character would now walk around with a cigar in his mouth. He never even lit them, just chewed. A small detail, but iconic. The film was completed. Per un puño di dollari, translated to English as A Fistful of Dollars. It was released in Italy in 1964, and it exploded. It broke box office records in Italy. It was a hit in Germany, a hit in France. Europe went crazy. Eastwood returned to America. He continued filming Rawhide. But something was different now. He was a star in Europe. In America, he was still Rowdy Yates. Leone offered him the second film. For a few dollars more, the pay went up. $50,000 plus percentage. Eastwood said yes. The second film was an even bigger hit than the first. Eastwood was now known as the man with no name. The character literally had no name. In the films, nobody addressed him by name. Mysterious, dangerous, a loner. This character was now Eastwood, or Eastwood was this character. The line was getting blurry, and then Leone offered the third film. Il buono, il brutto, il cattivo, the good, the bad, and the ugly. This time the budget was big. The cast was big. Lee Van Cleef and Eli Wallach would also star. Eastwood's salary became $250,000 plus box office percentage, from $15,000 to $250,000 in 2 years. Filming was tough. It lasted months in the Spanish desert. Tension began between Eastwood and Leone. Leone was a perfectionist. He'd shoot the same scene dozens of times. Eastwood came from television. He was used to working fast. But in the end, the film was completed. It was released in 1966. It became a worldwide phenomenon. Now I need to stop here and explain something. In 1966, the film hadn't been released in America yet. It was a massive hit in Europe, but America had to wait. And right then, Rawhide was canceled. After 8 seasons, CBS ended the show. Ratings had dropped. Westerns weren't as popular as they used to be. Eastwood was out of work. But this time it was different. This time he had cards to play. In 1967, A Fistful of Dollars finally opened in America, 3 years late, because of legal issues. Kurosawa had filed a copyright lawsuit, but it finally came out, and America went crazy. Critics had mixed reactions. Some called it violence pornography. Others called it fresh and innovative. But audiences didn't care. Theaters filled up. Tickets sold out. Clint Eastwood wasn't a television actor anymore. Clint Eastwood was a movie star. Universal Studios, the studio that had shown him the door years ago, was now begging at his doorstep. Warner Brothers made offers. Paramount made offers. Everyone wanted Clint Eastwood, and Eastwood made a decision. He started his own production company, Malpaso Productions. He would control his own films. He would make his own decisions. Nobody would ever tell him what to do again. This decision made him one of the most powerful people in Hollywood. He would become an actor, producer, and eventually director. He would build a career spanning over 40 years. And it all started with that crazy offer, $15,000. Italy, a director he'd never heard of. What happened to Eric Fleming? Fleming, the man who rejected the Italy offer, never achieved the same momentum in his career. Big roles didn't come after Rawhide. In 1966, while filming a movie in Peru, he drowned in a canoe accident. He was 41 years old. Eastwood never publicly said how he felt when he heard this news. Maybe sadness, maybe gratitude, maybe both. Because the role Fleming rejected had changed Eastwood's life. If that same role had been offered to Fleming and he'd accepted, maybe we wouldn't know anyone named Clint Eastwood today. Life sometimes works like that. One person's no becomes another person's yes, and the course of history changes. In 1959, Clint Eastwood was a television actor. Hollywood didn't want him. Studios had closed their doors. His future was uncertain. In 1967, Clint Eastwood was one of the biggest movie stars in the world. 8 years, 3 Italian films, one crazy decision. Sometimes the most illogical path turns out to be the right one. Sometimes the offer everyone rejects was created just for you. And sometimes, just sometimes, being stamped as a television actor isn't the end of your career. It's the beginning. Clint Eastwood proved this. That unknown man who landed at Rome Airport would become the king of Hollywood a few years later. But that day at the airport, he didn't know this. All he knew was this. He had a chance. And he wasn't stupid enough to waste it. When everyone tells you no, sometimes all you have to do is say yes to the right place. Clint Eastwood said yes to the right place. And cinema history changed forever.